Hello. This is I don't want to say it's part two. I didn't identify the original video as part one, but this is part two to a video that I've made about identifying terms and coefficients. This is being made for my Algebra 2 students, so I expect a little bit more from them. So we're going to be identifying terms, coefficients, and leading coefficients. And these are going to be purely for linear polynomials, so linear equations. My students have not yet learned really about polynomials, so we're going to call these linear equations. Actually, I shouldn't say linear equations, linear expressions. So, does that make it linear then? I don't know. We're going to call it expressions with just an x, okay? So let's say we got one that is 4x, just a simple one, 4x plus 2. So the first step in identifying terms, coefficients, and leading coefficients is making sure that it is simplified, your expression or your equation is as simplified as it gets, all right, in its simplest form. All right, and I've done a few videos on how to simplify expressions. That means that you need to have it in standard form. Okay, it means you need to have it in standard form. So, step one, simplify to standard form, and that means variables in descending order. Okay, let's see if I can make this one because this marker is dead too. Nope, didn't even hit the can. Didn't even hit the can. Okay, so step one, simplify to standard form, and standard form means that variables, I should say descending order, let's put here, left to right. So as I go from left to right, is this in descending order of the variables? Well, I have one variable, so I have one variable, and then I have no variables. So descending order, I would say yes. 1 to 0 is descending. So my next question is it simplified? Is that as simplified as it gets? Is that standard form? Can I combine anything? Can I combine the 2 and the 4x? No, I cannot. So this is already simplified. Step one, checked off. All right, and really there's only one step actually. That's just the first step. After that, you're just gonna go through and you are going to look at the terms which are separated by addition and subtraction. Okay, so terms are separated by addition and subtraction. So if I was to look here and I was to ask students how many terms there are, hopefully the response would be 2. So there's 2 terms because this term, this 4x, and this positive 2 are separated by a plus. Okay? Now that the terms are separated, so I know I have, let's list this out, I have 2 terms. All right, and each term has a coefficient. So if I have 2 terms, I should have 2 coefficients. And usually when you list coefficients, it's going to be in descending order. So if I was to list the coefficients, and the coefficients are the numbers in front of the variables, all right, so in front of the variables, if I was going to list these coefficients, so let's do, I got 2 terms, that is 4x and positive 2, and then my 2 coefficients would be the number in front of the x is 4. Now this might be a little advanced. It's definitely something that I've not talked about with my students yet. And you don't really talk about it until you do a unit on polynomials, is there's actually this invisible variable here to the 0 power. Again, haven't even talked about 0 power and what that does. And this is to the first power. But the point is this 2 is also a coefficient. So even though it's just a number, and the definition, coefficients are the numbers in front of variables, even though you don't see a variable there, it is actually in front of 1. It's just an invisible one. Just like there's sometimes an invisible 1, sometimes there's things that we don't write because it's more simplified to not write them. The point is, for now, just remember that that 2 is also a coefficient. So that 2 is also a coefficient. Now, this leads to the very last thing, which is the leading coefficient. There can only be one of those. And I have 2 options. I got a 50-50 chance. But the definition of it is in the word. It's in the name of it. Leading coefficient. If I was to ask you which of these 2 things is the leading, right, like the leading role, which one is first, that one. So my leading coefficient would be 4. Okay? Hopefully we're good with this. So let's go through another example to find out. What if I was to do 5x plus 3 minus 4x plus 8? So first step, step 1, simplify it. Simplify it, okay? That's step 1. So I'm going to combine like terms. So 5x minus 4x is x, 1x. Positive 3 plus 8 is 11. Okay, so now I'm down to 2 terms. I have 1x and I have positive 11. So now if I was to list my my terms, oh, that's bad. That's bad. So if I was to list my terms, I would have x, comma, 11. Those are my 2 terms. All right, and then if I was to list my coefficients, that would be, well, here's that invisible 1 I was just talking about. What number is in front of that x? There's that invisible 1. So my coefficients would be 1 and 11. Because remember, like I was just talking about, even though there's not a variable there, that you can see, that 11 is in fact a coefficient. So it's 11. And then if I was asked for the leading coefficient, that would be the leading, the first one, the one that's in lead, would be 1. Okay? So, one more example. Because you don't always have 2 terms. Don't always have 2 terms, which kind of actually makes things easier. So here's an example of something where you might not have 2 terms. All right, this is the last example for this video, so let's get this done. So if I have 3x minus 4 times 5x, all right, distribute. Really important. I'm going to circle this because I know some students still forget to do this. Getting too much of a hurry. Multiply by a negative 4, not just 4. Okay. Of course, in this case, I don't think it would matter. But you get 3x minus 20x. Simplify that more. So this is the difference, right? I'm down to 2 terms, but these terms are like terms. So I can combine them to be negative 17x. So I don't have 2 terms now, I have 1 term. Eventually, hopefully, students, you people, anybody who's watching this video will learn that this is called a monomial, right? Mono for 1, 1 term. So everything would just be, right, you'd have terms you would answer with negative 17, x, coefficients. You would answer with negative 17, and then leading coefficient, you'd answer with negative 17. All right, everything would just be based off of this one term, okay? Hopefully that video was helpful. Hopefully that helps my students who hopefully are watching this and not skipping it and going straight to the math assignment. Hopefully this helps you get it done and get it done correctly. All right, so thanks for watching. Let me know if it was helpful. Let me know if it was not helpful. I need to know if I need to make different types of videos or not. All right, thank you.